Morgan and Megan, you want to dive in?
Absolutely, yes. So
All
Megan
right.
will be sharing her screen.
Here it goes. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, welcome everyone. So I'll give you a brief overview of our app. Our app is a wardrobe organizer slash outfit planner. It's heavily inspired by Cher's closet from the movie Clueless. And we used a Mern stack and took a mobile first design approach. Our three features are the individual item catalog, the filter and sort by organizational tags, and a mix and match outfit creation, which was our third feature. So today, Megan is going to walk you through a user flow of logging in, adding a clothing item, and then creating an outfit using that clothing item. So I'll pass it over to Megan.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the homepage of our Ultimate Outfit Planner. So we can go into this little drop-down menu. I did create a user already for demo purposes. So we'll log in at and here's our closet. So you can see here that we have a couple preloaded clothing items, including the shirt that I'm wearing right now. It is not the full outfit that I'm wearing right now, but it's close. So you can click on each one of these and you can see more details. So if I click on the sneaker, a cool thing about this is that it has these custom tags as well. So if you want to search for something specific, we use Google AI tagging for that. So when Cloudinary removes the background, it also adds Google tagging in that. So if we go back to the closet, we can add an item, and this is going to get a little funky, but I'm going to add a pair of glasses. And it's going to be funny because I'm just going to like dip out, but does the background removal. Glasses are there. It's going to keep my hand in it, but that's okay. Isn't that nice? So we can go down to, we're going to say their sunglasses. Their color is brown. Season, we'll say summer. I'm going to say they're my formal glasses because why not? And then you can add that item. So once the item is added, it does show up like this while Cloudinary removes the background. So you can, once you click on some other things, it does show up. So this hat, I'm not sure what a cricket cap is, but I think that's a funny tag to put on. But then you come back and there's the glasses with the, if my hand wasn't in it, it would look much better. But it adds the tags, I wear glasses, vision care. So then you can go back and search by vision and it'll pop up with the one thing that matches the vision. So that was our second feature, was adding an item. Our third feature is the outfits feature. So we have this extra tag here. I do have another, or I have an outfit already loaded into there, but let's create an outfit first. So we can enter the name of our outfit. So if we're like, this is my holiday party outfit, you can name it that way. But for today, I'm going to name it demo. Who knows? And you can choose your items from here. So I'm going to go with the hat, not the glasses. And it shows up like this. You can click it and it will remove. Click it, it goes back in. And then you can go to save outfit, outfit saved, and it takes you back to the closet. Then to see those outfits, you go in here. And like I said before, there's our demo outfit. Here's our outdoorsy outfit. I don't know, just a little name for that outfit there. And if you click into it, you can view everything and you can also delete.
Why would you want to delete that outfit though? I don't know.
I don't know. I can always add it back in. So that is like the basic MVP function for our outfit planner. So then I'll get into the questions that we have for today. So the first question is, are you happy with the tech stack you chose? Why or why not? And like Morgan said, we use the Mern stack. I personally am happy that we went with Mern Stack, mainly because I still have a lot of resources from my boot camp with the Mern Stack, and I use them pretty often to look back and be like, how did they do this? Or I remember doing a project in boot camp. So it was just kind of it's nice to have a resource base that I was already familiar with. Sometimes the context switching, because at Booz Allen we were in Python, so flipping back and forth was a little bit tricky, but once we adapted to that, it really was great. So I enjoyed it, Morgan.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. And I think Megan and I are both pretty fresh out of our boot camps. So, like, practicing those skills that were already new to us, that was an added bonus, being able to solidify that. I think if we went with something completely unfamiliar, it would have added a lot of blockers and probably mental drain from this already intense time. So, I'm glad that we stuck with Mern Stack too, because I still learned a lot, even though I had some exposure to at least part of the Mern Stack before. So moving on to the next question, what's the most surprising thing you learned as part of this project? I think the most surprising thing in terms of things I wasn't expecting to learn was, I think, about capacity and sticking to the MVP, and also the value of working in a partnership. Megan was really great at being a sounding board and being like, we should focus on the MVP, and do we need a backup? Because I can get stuck in this little loop of perfectionism, and having a partner is really great for reining you back in. Also, the value of planning. We utilize tools like Draw.io and Figma, and that really helped us stick to that MVP.
Yeah, I would agree with Morgan on those points. It was like whenever I would get like really stuck, I would just have to take a deep breath and be like, how can I simplify this? Because and not that it shouldn't be tricky, but it should be able to be done. And so it was a huge learning experience for me too. Like Morgan said, the partnership was good. Morgan talked me off a ledge just as much as I did for her. So we worked well together. But overall, I learned just a crazy amount of like, oh, I didn't know you could do that type of things. The AI tagging and the background removal was a big learning curve for I think both of us. Image uploads. The list goes on and on and on. The last question is wave a magic wand and what's one thing you would change about your approach? We both kind of struggled with this question, I think. I speak for myself, but my number one was no hurricane. That would have been
Hi,
really
my name is
nice.
Jessica Cleone. I'm a software engineer.
And other than that, I think we both liked our approach of how we're both really visual. So we used Draw.io a lot, which I do have up right now. And this was kind of like our launching point for both of us, was to draw it out and have something that we could both go back to and be like, okay, this is our flow here. This is what we want. That was really helpful. So
Right. Yeah, I agree. No hurricane would have been great. Second that. Also, in the beginning, I think I was focusing a little on UI UX and just that reminder of this is not a UI UX project. This is a coding project. So I learned that fast, but in the beginning, I think it was a little bit of a blocker for me. But overall, our approach was really good because I think we worked well together. And as you saw in that Draw.io, we met our MVP and even incorporated some of our stretch goals, like the AI tagging and the background removal. So we have a couple next steps for the app, which are optional. We'd love to go back and clean it up a little bit and implement some more cool features, like maybe a weather API and a drag and drop outfit creator as well. So yeah, we're happy with it, and yeah, that's what we got.
thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan and Morgan. Everyone, let's give them a round of applause, some emojis, drop some congratulations or great jobs in the chat.
That's too good for the chat, y'all. Great work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know so many of us could use it, like myself, in planning these outfits. And definitely if y'all get to those next steps with the weather, I think that we would all benefit from it. So thank y'all so much.
Yeah, very nicely done. It's been great seeing that evolve. And I mentioned this to Morgan last night, but this was the push I needed to finally watch Clueless, that y'all based your idea on that. So that was a nice little unexpected add-on for me.
Thoughts?
I loved it, actually. It was great.
Great.
Yeah, that was
Does
amazing.
anybody...
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that was amazing. I would definitely use that app.
Chris,
Yeah,
if our
actually,
only win
100%.
was getting you to watch Clueless, I'll take it. I'm very happy about that.
Far from your only win.
Yeah,
Far
we've
from
got a
your only
lot of
win.
wins, but if we had to narrow it down.
Yeah, well, so that among other wins, does anybody have any questions for Morgan and Megan? Jamie?
We got to hear what your most surprising thing you've learned. What was your favorite thing you've learned? Is it different from what was the most surprising?
It's a good question, Jamie. Megan, do you have any initial thoughts?
Not that jumps like out at me, but I feel like I learned a lot about like the image uploads and how to save them in Mongo, and how to make sure they persist through like okay, so that clothing item is also going to the outfit, and it needs all of these things for it to be able to show. The so working with Mongo was, I guess that was pretty fun. It was like organizing. It was like organizing the back end of the closet. It was nice. It was very nice.
Yeah, along those lines, I think my favorite thing, because my boot camp was front end focused, this was my first exposure to back end. So this was like the coolest way to learn and to see that. So I think just learning back end would be my favorite. Good question, Jamie.
Yeah, great question. Any others? Any other questions? So I'll see if I can come up with a question or comment, because I remember y'all have highlighted the image uploads as a major piece, and both a hurdle, and it seems like it has also really added a lot of cool new dimension to your project. So what was the big thing? We talked about it early on, and I talked about different ways you can host images and things like that. What was like the big takeaway, I guess, if you had to like really look back and think your pre-understanding moment to where you are now with that aspect? Think back to your less knowledgeable state, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
What's the
for
big
real. It makes a lot of sense. And I can't tell you how much in the past, I don't know, maybe month, I was like, dang, I wish we would have done this from the beginning. There were several moments where I was like, sugar, well, there's always next time. Right now I can make it work. But, there were several instances where I was like, oh, I probably could have, that could be more efficient, or just thinking on the back end, just the way that things were saved, kind of because right now there's like arrays in the object. It would have been nice to maybe figure out how to make that simplified a little bit more. But now I know. I would say that's mine. I don't know, Morgan, what do you have?
Yeah, I was going to give you props for finding Cloudinary, because I feel like that was a really good tool to learn and use, and really helped us with not just the first feature, but then just kind of trickle down into the rest of our features. So yeah, I think that was a good find.
Yeah, Cloudinary is very cool. I don't know if everyone has used it. I think Jamie and Sumi have it in their project too, but it was actually, the docs were really helpful. Once we got it working, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was the hurdle, just getting it working.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, anybody?
Y'all just did such a great job.
Nailed it.
Thanks, Jamie. Good question.
Very nice. Very nicely done. All right. Well, excellent work, Morgan and Megan. That's really nice to see all come together, and you guys have really put in the work to see it through the end. So kudos.
So, to recap, if you haven't been with us before, Crumbs is a Girl Scout cookie sales management app that I wanted to make for a friend of mine whose daughter sold 700 boxes of cookies last year in her first season, and my friend was very overwhelmed and had like a 5-page spreadsheet to try to manage that. So I thought it would be fun to try to help her out. And thus Crumbs was born. So we've got our user authentication. I already have demos signed up, but if I wanted to sign up my cat, we've got some validations and some comprehensive checks. I won't go through all of them, but it'll tell you if your password isn't made up of the correct combination of characters. It'll tell you if your email address is already in use, but we saw that in like the last demo. So I just wanted to briefly skim over that. So we'll sign Tina in, and we'll be directed to Tina's dashboard. And as I always say, make it work, then make it cute. So this is our working version, and she'll get cute, right? Because just because today is final demo, it doesn't mean the app is done, right? We all know apps are never done. You might release a version, but it's never done. So this is our current version. So we have our create a new order, our currencies, our current inventory, and orders. So I'll start with the current inventory. Let me check my notes, make sure to. So if Tina were a new user and we didn't have demo data, this would populate with all of the cookies with a value of 0 for actual and projected. The actual cookie inventory is based on the cookies. She said, here's my starting inventory, and any orders that are marked complete, it'll adjust the actual inventory. The projected inventory is based on orders that have been submitted but are marked as incomplete. This will be really valuable for pre-sales, right? Because it can go to a negative value. Like we'll say, I'll just pick an order. Are there adventurefuls here? No. This one, do. So if we look at, so our adventurefuls right now, we have 107 actual, and projected we'll only have 61 left after our orders. So if we come into Jane's order and we edit her cookies, let's say she has 107. I'm going to try to save that, and I'm going to close it. Oh, come on now. Oh, because it's not complete. If I tried to mark it as complete, I'll just do that real quick. It's messed up my whole jive. That's okay. I try to mark it as complete and save it. It'll take her actual total down to 0 and her projected to -44. So based on the other orders that are incomplete, this informs what she needs to order. So in the instance of like pre-season, she can get all of her pre-orders in, and then she'll know what she needs to order, because the moms actually, or the families, not exclusively moms, have to actually, they buy the cookies from the Girl Scouts and then the kids resell them, which I did not know that's how that works. So managing inventory is very important. So it all updates dynamically. So if we go back into our adventure pools, if I try to take this up to 108 and save it, oh, because I made it complete. Okay, well, it won't let it go to 0, but it's already complete, and I'm still working on adjusting that. We'll get to that in a minute. So this will update dynamically. If we come back in and we change our adventurefuls and we take the spec down to 1 box and we close it, oh, it's marked complete. This is a terrible demo, y'all. We'll add a couple and now we'll see. So then we see our inventory, our projected inventory adjusted because we added more to this order. But we have the option too to come in here, and I'll stop talking about inventory, and manually update our inventory. So that all renders dynamically. So if we go into our orders, and we'll just pick this incomplete order for Jim. Right now it's at $54, but we want to edit some of his cookies, and we can see as we edit what our projected total will be. And if we save it and close, it dynamically updates the new price. Everything works off of the order. And I thought when we started this, I thought that creating an order was going to be the hardest part. So Rance and I decided to decompose it into these components that all are fed by the order. But actually editing an order and getting that to dynamically render on the dashboard ended up being quite complicated. This is the app that state and effect hooks and modals built. I think there's like 50 something state managed variables, and then a lot of dynamic re-renders with use effect, which was a really fun puzzle to figure out. Let me check my notes real quick. So with each of the tables, you can sort based on incomplete, complete, alphabetical, total for all of them. So you can check your cookie inventories. So if we have an order, we'll get to the good stuff. So we have our currencies table. Right now, this is based on orders that are marked as complete. This is what the balance should be in credit payments that Julie has, or Tina has, our test case. So when we are editing our order, we can adjust our cookie quantity. We can come in and say, okay, I've received payment. I've received it in Venmo, and I'll save the changes. And now we see that our Venmo is here. However, that order is still, where did it go? Is still able to be manipulated because the delivery status hasn't been changed yet. So now we'll say that it's delivered, we'll mail, and we'll save it. So now we've got our Venmo, we've got our complete status, and our inventory has been adjusted based on this order being complete. So now the actual changed, and we know what we have in our Venmo. The one thing that I've been having some trouble with is this add a cookie to the order. So it does right now, the drop-down menu populates with any of the cookies that are not existing currently on the order. So you can add a new one. But what's happening, I'll open up my inspector real quick. That's a material UI thing with an ARIA. If I try to add a cookie, we'll see it prints what it's catching right now. This is, so the way a drop-down menu works in React, right? You've got your options. You've got your opening and closing option tags. And this right now, this caramel chocolate chip is what the text is that's being rendered in between the opening and closing tags. But what it should be capturing is the value of the value attribute in the opening option tag. So I did some research in Stack Overflow and the general web, and a couple of people have mentioned they've had this issue where there's some kind of timing thing. So I'm going to go back in and see if I can play around and maybe put like an await a sync promise or something in there to try to capture that. So that's for this next bug to work out. And so then we go to our create an order. So now we have our order form. And the way, this is another something I want to rework too, I think. The order requires that it has to have a customer ID, right? An order belongs to a customer and a customer belongs to a user. And that's how we can see all of the orders this user has. But so right now it's a little clunky. You have to create a customer first, and then you can create an order. Otherwise, you can't submit an order without the customer ID. So again, I think I can go in and probably use a promise to capture that customer in one single click for creating the whole order. And so this looks a lot like that order form. I haven't put the cookies on it yet. I feel like time has not been on my side since Thanksgiving. But the order form that I thought was going to be the most complicated part to build is actually the easiest. I just need to plop the cookies in there and do like use Axios and do a post request to the backend. So that part I can just knock out pretty quickly. Oh, yeah. So in our cookies also, we can delete cookies, and that will automatically update our inventory and our total. We can start editing our cookies, but then we can cancel and it won't persist any changes, and that remains the same. And then we can also delete the order. And when we delete the order, it automatically puts the cookies that were on the order back into inventory. That was a little tricky to figure out too, but that was fun. This was a really fun cookie puzzle. And speaking of, what was the question? It was the one thing you could change about your approach. I really don't think I would change anything. Rance and I worked really well together. I learned a lot, and I got to think and talk about cookies for a few months. So that was really fun. I have drugged this dead horse of a demo way too long. Rance, would you like to take over?
Sure thing. Honestly, a lot of my work for like the currencies and the orders was actually done relatively early on. I will say, I think orders might have been a bit harder for on my end since there was a lot of if I had my computer, I would be showing what it some of the classes and stuff that went into the orders, but there were different factors and how projected inventory is calculated and such based on queries. I think that, so I do agree. I don't think there's much that I would change on the approach, except for I wish that I knew, I think I said this the first demo, I wish I knew about SQL Alchemy before I tried using Psycho PG, and needed to up into most of the backend work at that point. So yeah, that's probably the only thing that I would have changed. That maybe I'm very happy with the tech stack that we chose though. It was very fun to work with. I had a lot of fun learning Flask. I didn't know that there was or I was not aware of the differences like with dictionaries and the request form data. That was something we had to fix, but that wasn't too much work, thankfully. It was a very great experience, though. I think that we worked well together. It was really fun figuring everything out and playing around with it. I don't think that you talked about the text, if you were happy with the tech stack, Dan.
Yeah, I thought it was great. In my boot camp, we worked with Ruby on the back end. So I did not know any Python coming into this apprenticeship. I mean, I think in boot camp, we did 1 day crash course in Python, but that was it. And so, yeah, we picked this tech stack because once we got to Booz Allen, we were both working exclusively in Python. So we wanted to really like immerse ourselves in it so we could have more experience working in the language. So React is super fun. I love the things built in and how dynamic it is. It's a really cool front end, but I really enjoyed working with Rance on a few things in his code and just looking at his code. It's really cool how Flask works, how you can like register the blueprints for your routes and how you can build the models and have computed properties. And that's how we did a lot of calculating like the inventory and the currencies. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I would definitely 10 out of 10 use Flask again for a future app on the back end. And I will say too, this project And actually, I think this experience as well, my experience at Booz Allen, like going into boot camp, I have a degree in fine art, and I thought I'm going to be a front-end engineer because I'm going to make things cute. And I think I really enjoy the back end much more now. So that was kind of surprising. But yeah, it's been a really good experience. Enjoyed the tech stack.
That did remind me of another thing I would change though, and not having my computer break. I'm not happy about that. I guess the most surprising thing I learned about was honestly SQL Alchemy. That was so much fun to play with. I just liked playing around with that a lot. The visuals and the classes of Python make a lot of sense to me. So being able to map everything from like different tables from SQL to Python was very it helped everything click a bit more. I mean, I understood SQL a bit, but it helped click with like how they would interact with each other a lot. Yeah.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Who else has questions for Anne and Rance?
Jamie?
Just because my mouse was hovering over the raised hand, I was gonna let somebody else go first. No, I was gonna ask the same question. What was your favorite part of working on this for both of you? I mean, y'all kind of touched base on it a little bit, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to really hear what you thought was your favorite part.
Working with Rance, talking about cookies and the tech stack. That they were really fun.
Yeah, honestly, working with Anne has really been a joy. She has such a great, a positive, energetic personality. It's been making working on it very enjoyable, and also just I found that I like taking things apart and realizing what the pieces do, and putting them together. So I think that part of SQL Alchemy and I think blueprints and working around with those was probably my favorite part of the project as well. Recently learned that I think it's possible to have like, you know how we had like login required? I think it's possible to do that for an entire blueprint instead of having to do it in front of each endpoint. That was just a fun thing to learn. I did not learn it in time to implement it, but I did learn it, and I think that's neat.
That's really good. Out of curiosity, have y'all, because Anne, you were mentioning that you had a lot of like complexities with all the management of the state. Have y'all actually thought about pivoting to using the state management tool like Redux, or even like using like the use context hook in React kind of thing?
Nope, but I will now.
That's exactly what I was going to respond.
Is Redux, also Dux, is that was early on? Okay, we don't need to get into React lore. Sorry, I will do web research on my own rather than hold up everyone's time. But any other questions for Rance and Anne? Well, I'll say what everybody's thinking. Fantastic demo. Very nicely built app. Well done. Congrats. A lot of hard work went into it, and y'all knocked it out of the park.
All right, let me share my screen. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody can see this? All right, cool. And I'm actually going to copy this URL so this can be an interactive demo. Put that in the chat. Go ahead and click that. It's fully mobile responsive, so it should look fine on everybody's end. All right, so my project is Frequency Radio. The birthing thought of this came from the end of my boot camp when I failed to build this the first time. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't really understand how to work with databases and even like some front end things. I was kind of still a newbie at this, but I practiced over a year and some change to understand like how to build better websites, better apps, frameworks, different technologies. No, literally, it was like my redemption song. I was like, nah, I have to do this. I want to do this. Yeah, so basically I found out about Next.js, I want to say maybe a year ago, but I didn't really like understand it until my mentor Morgan, he was like, if you're going to build a project, well, I know Next.js, TypeScript, and Supabase. So I decided to go with that, the big three to finish this app and to get that working. So the premise of this app is I wanted to build a real-time chat application that also hosted DJ streams or like live streams in general. So people could have a space outside of their typical platforms that we already have for those to hang with friends, chat, play music, share music, etc. So I'll get into a little demo. If you go to the home screen, you'll see three options. One is to log in, one is to sign up, and Quick Jam. Quick Jam is basically creating a quick user so you don't have to like authenticate, but you get all of the features of the application itself. I will say that once you click log out, let's see, I'll get into it. Once you click log out, it deletes your account. So you will want to, if you want to like, come back to something, you would definitely opt in for signing up and logging in. So once you click on this, this is the home screen. There's a few things that you can do. And I think the first thing I want to do is change my username to something more fitting, like Taariq Elliott. That updates in real time. And the next thing I would like to do is create a station. So I want everybody to join the station. Let's just call this one Develop Carolina Final Demo. Actually, let's just go Develop Carolina. The Twitch username I would like to use is this guy, Select the 720. I like his music. Oh, is he not streaming anymore? That's awkward. So let's just see. Well, we'll go with this guy right here. Let's keep moving. Let me see if he's still. Okay, yeah, he's gone. Let's go back to the app. This is the username for the chat, the Twitch username that I would like to use. So what it does is if you are signed up with Twitch, you can put your username into this. And if you have a stream going, this will create the audio context for the entire room that you create. So everybody has like the same stream and that is all synced up with each other. So I'll create that. Now, once you are brought into the chat room, you'll see a few different options. You'll see, if you're the room creator, you'll see an option, the cog icon to update the Twitch username. Hey, how you doing? You'll see a few icons. One is to actually start the audio of that Twitch stream. The other is to show it. If you're on mobile, you would have to hit this first and then unmute it because the way that Twitch works, their embed for mobile devices, you actually have to physically unmute that audio to hear anything. I think when you start it up, you'll see like a little ad because Twitch is very ad heavy, but after like 15 seconds, you should see this person's stream pop up. And I'll go into mobile responsive mode so you can see a few of the options. On mobile, those side icons, they disappear into this. We have this little pop over from Mantine where you can change the color scheme. You can navigate back to the radio stations. And since I created this radio station, I see an option to actually like delete this and you'll see that you are the creator of that. So let's go back into that. If you can hear any audio after clicking this and showing it, throw a thumbs up in this. I can hear it currently. Yeah, Morgan can hear it. She's jamming. I see you. Okay, cool. So we have that. And another cool thing is I have this little option if you wanted to like share this with somebody, that URL is copied. So I'll open up an incognito window and I'll just go directly to that. So now I'm brought into this, but since I'm not a logged in user, I don't see an option to actually like join that chat, but I do still see the option to play the audio and hear it because I wanted this app to be accessible to the general public. I didn't want this to be kind of like an app that only a few people could use. So I'll go back to my actual session and I would like to upload a GIF of one of my favorite artists, Jamiroquai. They're a band, but this is the guy, the main guy. He is super cool style, super cool hats. Where's my favorite GIF of him? There we go, this one right here. So we'll throw that into the chat with a message that's sending to the Superbase database, and you'll see the images pop up. So if you wanted to send an image and you say favorite picture, go ahead, join me. You can also send links. So if there is, I can just send this little chat. Click on that, this pops up. And again, it takes you directly to that. Jamie, I know that's you. I know for a fact this is Jamie. Yeah, I love this. But yeah, so I think that is the bulk of the demo. Also, if you wanted to change your name, you can just go up here, click on that, and update your username. And like I said, you can, if you wanted to create your own station, you just click on this station icon, go back, create a station, give it a name. If there is a certain Twitch user that you like and you want all your friends to kind of like have a space where you're tuned into the Twitch stream outside of the Twitch platform, go ahead and do that. Also, like I said, this site is live. So I bought the domain Frequency Radio. And that is being hosted through Vercel and Cloudflare. No, through Cloudflare, but I deployed the app through Vercel, which is pretty cool because those two things kind of like link up seamlessly with a few steps. And I think that is mainly it for the demo. I'll answer some of the questions in the chat. Are you not the chat in our third feature demo classroom? Are you happy with the tech stack that you chose? Why or why not? I'm very happy. I initially, like, I'm very glad that I got this working. I ran into a few issues early on where I was trying to create my own instance of a music audio streamer. But if anybody's ever worked with audio and JavaScript and the web, you'll know that it is one of the hardest things to implement, especially when it comes to like real time. I know things like WebSockets and Socket.io exist, but the implementation that I wrote for those, the audio sounded terrible. And I was like, if this is going to be like a streaming platform, I don't want to sacrifice the audio quality to say that like I did something. I wanted it to be like an actual like cool experience where everybody can hear HD audio from the source while I work on learning how to actually like build those features. So in the future, this will be taken over with being able to stream directly from the platform to this room where you don't have to go through Twitch. But for now, like Twitch is like the wrapper of that. And like I said, I chose Next.js, Supabase, TypeScript. I can actually like show some of the code, what that looks like. And also Tailwind. Tailwind I use for every single app nowadays because it is so easy to just write those inline styles and have that like update immediately where you don't have to go through an actual like app.css file. And it's so much quicker to write like text small. And cool thing about this is if you hover over it, you can see what that actual class is. And you can copy and paste these things and put this directly into like your app.css and it'll work the same way. It's just, this is what that is. And TypeScript is really cool because it will tell you if something is not right and it'll tell you exactly why it's not right instead of like guessing with JavaScript where it's like, I don't know why this isn't working. It's like, because this function expected this type of return and you don't have that. So give me that. And there's a little more like setup that you have to get involved with beforehand, but I think it is definitely worth it down the line. And I'll show you a little bit my database and how I have that set up. I'm using Supabase like I mentioned earlier, and you'll see like these are all the users. I think this kind of jumped up with all the people that joined today. I have a few different tables. I have one for the rooms, which is posting all the data for all of the rooms that have been created. I have the table for the users where it shows you like the email, the username, the Twitch username associated with that user. So whenever you like create an account or whenever you create a room, name goes to this account. Which is pretty cool. And just like I said, this is all happening in real time. So he wanted to update that username of the Twitch stream that you created. This will change instantly so everybody like sees that change, which is also pretty cool. I have a storage bucket with all of the chat images. So these are all of the images. I'm pretty sure Sumi sent this Eustace one, which is cool because it says your name. And I remember she signed up as Eustace. Yeah. So, and there you can use like, I have a bunch of different queries that I had to create with SQL in order to get like certain permissions and certain like routes to do certain things and certain people to have authentication for or authorization to do certain tasks. And it saves all of this. And the cool thing about this is if you wanted to create like your own policy and you get an error over here, you can copy and paste that into this. And there's like an AI service that'll like kind of help you figure out like the proper SQL query to write. And once you do that, it'll create a policy and those policies are here where you can see what that policy is, you can edit it and what exactly it's doing and what that means for the certain route, certain action that you want to like accomplish and the certain role. So Supabase makes it really easy. They have a really good API of walkthrough to like how to set up these things for different languages, different frameworks. And like I said, I'm using Next.js. to handle all of this. So like there's a really good integration between it. Two, the other question is, what's the most surprising thing you learned as a part of this project? The most surprising thing is that it's very expensive to have to stream audio or to stream like any type of media. I had got a bill because I was using an SDK by the name of 100 MS. And they provide an SDK to like provide frameworks and components to do real-time audio streaming or like, like a live room or like video sharing or video streaming, kind of like Zoom type of thing. I didn't know that they charge for only HD video. Everything else is pretty much free up until like 10,000 minutes per month. But I didn't know that. So I was like one night, I think I took like 2-3 hours to like figure something out. And I was streaming. Then the next day I get a message saying like, oh, you owe a couple dollars. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I caught this. So that's one thing that I learned. The third question is, wave a magic wand, what's one thing that you would change about your approach? Honestly, I don't know if I have anything that I would change about the approach besides using a different framework. I love Next.js, but I've gotten really into SvelteKit recently, and it's a very, very, very cool framework, in my opinion, that takes you away from like the React sphere or like any of the like React type frameworks. I love Next.js, like I said, but I would definitely try to implement this in SvelteKit, because they're, like I said, they're a really cool new framework that has made a lot of like the current apps that I'm making a lot easier. There's still some like things that you have to like look up API wise and such. Since it's such a new framework that it's kind of hard to use AI with it because it just does not know. So yeah, that's the only thing that I would change, and that is all that I have.
Very nice. I think everybody's very, very impressed by the fully interactive demo. Yeah, it does occur to me that you probably are spending a little money to make that happen. That's no small feat there. So nicely done. And very nice app. It's really come along. I'll just go ahead and ask the question that is burning in all the apprentices' minds, because you put out a teaser about a Windows 95-esque skin, and I'm imagining that it was maybe it didn't quite get there before demo time, and I'm not going to give you any grief over that because
Yeah.
stretch goals. But if you have like a half finished version of that, we'd love to see a screenshot. How did that go?
In a couple weeks. I didn't even get to it. I was like, I have a lot of work to do on the booze side. Plus, I need to finish up a little bit of the logic for my actual like code. So I was like, I can't even worry about styling right now. I have to do the MVP first, and I'll get to that. But I think what I would do in the future is have the ability to like change themes on the fly. Just like you can change the the color theme or like light dark mode. I would have the ability to like say like, oh, if you want to use this experience, here is a button to click, and that'll change the entire UI of the entire site and have all of that be stored in localhost. So whenever you spin it back up, that option is already there for you. But it does look pretty cool. React
Yeah.
95, check it out.
Nice. And thanks for telling us about that. And that's not to diminish any of the hard work you've put in. Light and dark mode already works really well. And just the app, all in all, is very impressive. So nice, very nice job doing all that. And for any of y'all who don't already know this, Taariq is the only apprentice working solo on a project. So, he has risen to the occasion there as well, and really knocked it out of the park. Do we have any questions for Taariq? Let me try now. Megan?
I think I beat Jamie, so I'm super impressed. Woo! What I was gonna ask is if you plan on hosting any jam nights that you could invite us to, because I would definitely attend.
Yeah, I actually did want to demo with my own setup, but I just didn't get around to that either. But I know like if you are a DJ, you can just hook up your Twitch stream or your equipment to OBS, and that'll stream directly to Twitch. So you can just copy and paste that, and boom, there you go. But I felt like it would be too much to manage, like trying to talk about the code, give a demo, and also DJ at the same time. Only have two hands. Maybe I could do it with my feet, but I don't think that would be very sanitary.
Maybe another time, but
Yeah,
I would definitely be there for a little jam session. That would be
yeah,
so fun.
yeah. I'll let y'all know. We can also keep using this in the future. So this will be forever hosted,
Very nice. Yeah, you'd have to get some MIDI foot pedals or something maybe for that.
like
But
a
yeah,
Organ
it
pedal.
just occurs to me that, you know, you're like, ah, I really would like to use this app that doesn't exist yet. I know, I'll code it. And you spend more time coding it than using it. Jamie, you have a question?
Borb asked on the channel, what was your favorite part of the project? Or at least one of the boards.
I would say my favorite part of the project was figuring out TypeScript errors because it's very specific and it doesn't let you know what you need to change it to. It just tells you like what the issue is. I think I understand JavaScript much better now because of the explicitness of TypeScript and then getting that like linked up with Next.js. Then also I really enjoy Superbase. It's really cool that they have like the real-time feature where I feel like it will be extremely hard to like implement that yourself, but they have a really cool API. And you can turn that on or off within the Superbase interface if you want something to be real time. So it makes like things like the chat seamless. I mean, there's still like a lot that you have to use. Like you have to make sure your tables are set up properly. You have to make sure like the routes are set up properly and like you're calling things where they need to be called. But Superbase makes that pretty cool. And there was an instance where I had coded like the chat room early on and I was testing it when I deployed it. And I was like, wait, why am I seeing every message in every channel? So I think when I went back and like looked at the way that like my TypeScript was set up and the way that I was calling things for Superbase, it made very clear sense. I was like, oh, I have to change this variable to this, or I have to change this to that. So yeah, the tech stack, it was hard at first, but it helped me 100% later down the line to understand like why things weren't working and where exactly they weren't working.
Awesome. Other questions? Anybody have questions or kudos for Taariq or really anyone else?
Thank you.
Very nice. I believe at this point we have one more demo left.
Right, let me share my screen. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
All right, great. Well, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. I know there's some folks on here that maybe aren't familiar with our project, so I'm just going to give a brief overview of what it is and a recap of our last two features, pass it to Jamie to talk about the third feature, and then after that, I'll dive into the machine learning model. So our project is a Django-based web app for the detection of diabetic retinopathy. And we're doing this by using a neural network, specifically ResNet-50, to assess severity levels of diabetic retinopathy in retina photos. So for those of you that may not know, diabetic retinopathy is an eye disease caused by diabetes, as the name suggests. But basically, if diabetes is left uncontrolled or unchecked, it can really damage your vision, right? So it can damage the blood vessels in the back of the eye. Diabetic retinopathy is also one of the most leading causes of blindness worldwide. It affects about 40% of patients with diabetes and over 100 million people globally. So it's pretty serious, but it can be prevented though. Like with early intervention, there's a lot you can do, but when you're past that point, you either have complete blindness or surgery, which often doesn't help. And most likely, I mean, it's better than complete blindness, but you'd have to get eye injections every month. And I don't know about you guys, but that does not sound fun. I would hate to get a shot in my eye every single month. So if there was a way to prevent that, I would want that as the patient. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here is just, address this problem and help doctors of early detection of diabetic retinopathy. It's also very important for people who maybe they're in underserved areas, like maybe they don't have the healthcare infrastructure. So that is what the project's about. Let me see if I can move this. I'm trying to get, this one thing is like, let me just do this here. Okay, can you guys can you see a different screen now? Okay, perfect. So as far as our features, we have already done the image upload where you can securely upload patient images, patient data input. So we have a whole patient dashboard. Each patient has their own little section where they have their name, date of birth, and medical history. And it's not on here, so we probably need to update it, but we also did authentication and authorization, especially conditional access. So if you're a doctor from Clinic A, you can only see patients from Clinic A. And if you're a doctor from Clinic B, you can only see patients from Clinic B. So that just helps with secure data and following HIPAA protocol. And our last feature is model-driven analysis. Part of that is the machine learning model, which I'll talk about in a bit. But this also kind of goes hand in hand with our image upload as far as our get and update capabilities and getting it from our cloud database, sending that to the model. So with that, I will pass it on to Jamie to talk a bit more about that feature.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen here real quick and move that away so y'all don't get version. All right. Everybody able to see my screen? All right. So as Sumi mentioned, we worked very hard on getting this all set up for the diabetic retinopathy. I'm going to go ahead and kind of just do a walkthrough of our application, just to show you all the different things. So I will go ahead and log in as our user, and then we'll go to the dashboard. And here, this is where you can add patients for whatever you want to add. So I'm going to add in somebody new. So we're going to add in Ed, and we got to pick the right Tom Hanks photo here. So let's find a good one. Actually, I think I have a reindeer one. Let's do that one. And then being that it's Christmas, we'll go ahead and set the birthday to then, but we'll set it back way away. Let's just go back to the very first. So we'll add in a new patient. So now you can see that we have a new patient. I'll go ahead and click on them. You can see we have our profile picture. Most of us have already pointed out, yes, this is very much still an MVP. We would love to, our plans are to come back later and be able to make the design a lot better, improve on it, but you can still see the photo of our patient as well as, some basic information that we are storing on them. And then say, for example, they decide to do an eye. Well, we get to choose the eye, like left or right, eye right here. And then we'll get to go ahead and choose a photo. So let's go ahead and pick one that right here that's been scanned. We'll go ahead and add that photo. And then you can go ahead and see it up. That's all the way up from our feature 1 and 2. So now this is where we're starting to get into our feature 3 examples. So our feature 3 is actually being able to take this image and send it to a different server where our model lives, our ResNet model lives, to be analyzed and then get a response back based on that analysis. And that response would be basically the prognosis on it, as well as the confidence scale. So I'll go ahead and push the process button, and you will see it go ahead and get sent off. And then we come on down here to the process images, you can see that the image actually did get processed and we have a prognosis for it. In this case, is moderate. In the beginning, when we first set this up, we actually did have it set up just to ensure the connection, have it where it just returned a random prognosis, but we were able to actually get it connected to the ResNet model to have it where it is actually now being able to detect and analyze the image. So if I was to put the same image in here, for example, and add that photo back in and process it, we will see the same response, because that's it becomes more deterministic because it's the same image. And just to go ahead and show the confidence rating for that, I'm going to kind of let y'all peek behind the curtain. Y'all able to see the my little terminal here? If someone can give me a word, because I actually don't see y'all right now.
We can see you, Jamie.
Cool.
Yeah, we can see.
As you can see in our terminal here, we actually can see that the image and what our response was, along with the prognosis and our confidence. Now, with that being said, as you can see, our confidence rating, it's not that high with our model. And I'm going to let Sumi talk about that a little bit more, but that's something that we have been adjusting and tweaking, and we got it up to this point, and we were really happy that we got it to at least where it was actually given a little bit better confidence, but that's something that can be trained and worked on over time. Same with any other of our features, as feature 1 and feature 2, we are able to do our update. And in this case, we're not able to update the image because we didn't want it to be where you can change the image out, because we didn't want it to be where it's like, oh, now that it's processed, let me change it and make it like mess up the system. But we do have the delete feature for it, because this way, in case that the doctor comes through and it decides that they want to remove it, or say, for example, if they delete the actual patient, it recursively goes down and it will delete all the images that are related to that patient. And that's our feature 3, being able to do that. We decided to use Fast API for our secondary server for where our model is heard, because that was a really, it holds up to its name. It's fast in being able to implement and to be able to get it where we can then hit our model and get a response back from it for exactly what we needed. With that being said, I'm going to pass it right back to Sumi so she can talk a little bit more about the training that we've done for the model and a little bit more deeper on that, the analysis of the images.
Thank you, Jamie. Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
We got you, Sumi.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to dive into the machine learning model process because yeah, it was a process. So our training data, we got that from a 2015 Kaggle competition. There was, I believe, 1,100 images, so about 86 gigabytes of data spread across 5 classes, 0 to 4. So 0 is no diabetic retinopathy, 1 is mild to moderate, 3 severe, and 4 proliferative. But the issue is that unlike with most Kaggle data sets, this data was not cleaned at all. This one was particularly noisy in terms of the images and required a lot of pre-processing. It was also very imbalanced. I think we had about 26,000 were all class 0. So for no diabetic retinopathy. So only 9,500 diabetic retinopathy, but that was spread across classes 1 through 4. And not to mention, these images were also taken from different patients using different cameras and at different resolutions. So naturally, that introduced a lot of challenges with different image sizes and qualities. There was a lot of pre-processing that had to be done before training. I will tell you guys, this model was actually trained 3 times. 3rd time's the charm, and that's when we actually got it working. So the very first time, I very much underestimated how much augmentation I had to do. Because I just, I flipped some images around, I did horizontal flip, yada, yada. I was like, oh, that'll be fine. It was not. So the model was returning only class 0, only no diabetic retinopathy. Like it could not detect the other classes at all. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to oversample the less represented classes to add more of them. But the issue is that my script was wrong in that it didn't actually augment those classes. It only duplicated the images. So then that caused issues of, 10/left copy or 10/left 1, 2, because the image paths weren't matching up with the CSV labels anymore. So I was like, okay, I got to try to figure this out. So the solution that worked was that first we cropped the images to a resolution of about 1800, resized them to 224 pixels. After that, I had to remove about 400 or 500 black, just completely black images from the data set. And then I think what helped the most is rotating and mirroring the images. So we mirrored the images from classes 1 to 4, rotated them 90, ma'am, you have to sit down. Sorry, my cat is wanting attention. So we had to mirror them and rotate them to like 90, 120, 180, 270, and then converted them into NumPy arrays. And then it worked. Then it was actually augmenting them. And that was just done to address the severe class imbalance. And I can show you here. Are you guys seeing a different screen? Can you say something? Do you guys see a Google Drive screen now?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is before augmentation, and this was done with Matplotlib. So as you can see, extremely imbalanced, all for class 0. I forgot to put the classes here. And after augmentation, it was much more balanced. This 55,000 is spread over classes 1 through 4, but it gave the model more to go by. Like it wasn't just seeing what no diabetic retinopathy was. So that definitely helped stabilize the model's training process. And also something here is just pretty cool to see some of the pre-processing. So here you can just see the model, we have it 90 degrees, 120, 180, 270 and mirrored. And that helped a lot as well. So as far as the training process goes, the data is split into 80-20. So 80% trains the data and helps train the model. The 20% is used to validate. So that's stuff for like the fine tuning that we were talking about, the different parameters. And then the ResNet 50 is the convolutional neural network we're using. I chose that one because it's more familiar with image processing. The only downside, though, is that it's kind of canned, it's kind of limited. So I feel like in the future, maybe I would try a different neural network, but this was good for what we had. And then a quick breakdown, use TensorFlow and Keras for the training of the model. And then for like the pre-processing, that was NumPy, Pandas, other libraries, and then Matplotlib for the visualization. And also to speed up the process, we used CUDA, which I just found out about that. So I can use the GPU instead of the CPU, because the first 2 times it took about 10 to 11 hours to train, but that was using CPU. So when I switched to GPU, it only took like 3 or 4 hours. So that was a major difference. And then, like Jamie was kind of showing, we have our patients here. And the retina photos, you can see what's been processed and what is not. And if we process this, it should return a result. Yeah. So I will say this model is much better than it was at the beginning, but it does tend to favor moderate and mild classes. So I still don't think it's necessarily detecting the severe classes as much as I would like. But that's something that we can do in the future. And it's still much better than it's saying no diabetic retinopathy at all. And I think Jamie kind of went over this, but the images are uploaded to Cloud Miri, and then the Django server gets it through our URL, images analyzed, and then with the fast API endpoint, it's sent to the ResNet model, and then it displays the result back on the dashboard. And that's all I have for my part. I think well, let me look at the questions.
I was about to say, I think now we're in our phase now.
The questions, yeah. Are you happy with the tech stack you chose? Why or why not? I'm happy with it. I felt like Fast API, like you said, was fast. It was great. Django had a lot of modules and like a lot of like pre-canned stuff that helped a lot. And TensorFlow and Keras, I don't really know what I would use other than that for the model. I'm sure there's something, but nothing I know of at the moment. What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I think for the tech stack, I'm very happy with what we chose. I remember in the beginning that we were kind of thinking that everything was going to be housed in one server, like we were going to have even the model integrate in there instead of having it separate that we would actually hit come back. Looking back, we probably could have done a completely different tech stack if we wanted to for our main web application, but I'm still happy that we used Django. There were a lot of learning curves for it because it does have a lot of things that come kind of built into the system. So we kind of had to learn how to work with those because neither of us have touched Django before, but that's one of the reasons why I'm glad we did it, because that way it was a completely new learning experience. It's not like I'm just doing something I already know kind of thing. So that was a lot of fun. And then and when it came to actually setting up, once we got to the point where we knew to actually for the model, using that fast API was fantastic because it was one of those okay, we already know what we need to do. We just need to have a simple endpoint. We don't need to use Django again to do all this other stuff because we don't need it. So let's just use something quick and basic, and it held up to it. So, kudos to our mentors and our the support staff to be able that made that recommendation, because we were looking at a couple of options, but that was the one that we decided to go with for it. As far as our next question, what's the most surprising thing you've learned as part of this project? I personally feel that it would be one, the technologies, because I've not really touched Python coming into this at all. As a few of the apprentices have mentioned, we've been mainly focused on that one at the Booz Island side, but also for just learning new technologies really helped kind of get that more breadth experience to understand how different languages kind of are similar but also somewhat different. I also feel as part of this, I wasn't expecting in the beginning, but I'm really happy, is that I definitely feel I've improved on my communication skills and being able to be collaborative and working with partner. So with Sumi, we had I feel it's been a great partnership and that we've done a fantastic job together. And it's been a really nice thing to learn. It wasn't something that I was expecting to go in. I was like, oh, here's just another project. I'm just going to learn more code. But it wasn't just that. It was also the collaboration aspect to it too. that I thought was really. I feel like that one kind of was like I wasn't expecting, but I'm really happy that happened. What about you, Sumi?
Echoing what you said, yeah, pretty much the same. I was surprised how much I liked the collaborative aspect. I did have to learn kind of how to work with someone because I've never worked on a team before or did like a pair project, but it was nice not having to do everything by myself and being able to rely on someone. And I just think we had great project management skills and dividing up the task. And as far as anything else surprising, I mean, honestly, everything, how much the Git history can affect things. Chris and
Yeah.
Alex know they helped us with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we had some issues where even though we had the model and data and the Git ignore, it was still in the history, so naturally couldn't push that up. And yeah, I mean, I guess I just learned a lot, but the Git history part was the data. The fact that most data is not going to be cleaned or balanced because it's going to reflect real life. So I think I somewhat knew that, but I didn't realize that as much until I started actually working with it. So that was a surprise. What's the wave of magic one? What's one thing you would change about your approach? I don't know. So I have an answer, but I think that it actually ended up being a good thing. I was going to say that originally I was using Coursera to do this and learn how to build a ResNet model. And it was only about 3,500 images. And I was going to say that I wish I would have exported all of that instead of trying to do it all in the Coursera platform, because then the course was deprecated and I had no access to it anymore. On the same hand, though, I learned a lot by doing a lot of this myself. It was very stressful, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like I learned way more by trial and error and testing this out, especially with a more diverse data set than I would have if I just stayed on the Coursera platform. So it was very frustrating, but I don't know now if I would change that. I guess my other thing would be to just evaluate the data set a bit more and just kind of see beforehand, if things are how processed they are. Because I know not everything's going to be cleaned, but some stuff on Kaggle is a bit more clean than other data sets. So yeah. What about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I've been having a hard time trying to think about this one just because I actually feel we did like really well for our approach. I mean, hindsight's 2020, like I kind of mentioned earlier, like we could have done our main web application in different technologies if we wanted to. And like it sure it would have made things a lot easier, but I'm glad we didn't because it was a lot more that we got to learn and be able to get that experience for. Yeah, really, I don't really know much about what else that we would change for it because I felt like that we kind of like we had we laid out our battle plan in the beginning. We kind of stuck to it. We really did. I mean, admittedly, like our feature 2 kind of bled over into our this sprint. Like in the beginning of this, we were trying to wrap up a few things that we weren't able to finish. But just like at the end of this, there's lots of things that we want to go in and tweak and it done. The only I'm gonna steal some on one of the other apprentices. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was Morgan or Ann who was saying it, but like in the beginning, I was really wanting to make everything pretty, like always pretty. It's like, oh, it's got to be perfect pretty. And like, I was really hampered on that and like during our feature 1. And then I learned really quickly that doesn't necessarily matter. We don't necessarily need it to be pixel perfect. Let's just get it where it's actually displaying. Then we can come back later and make it pretty for it because that's it. That wasn't necessarily like the main part of it. It's like, let's get it actually functional before we can actually make it look nice. So I guess that would be my answer. Is about for me personally, not get hung up on the design. I come from a graphic design field, so not get hung up on design and focus on the feature itself. Exactly, make it work and make it cute. So, I guess with that, if you're cool with it, Sumi, we can open up the floor to questions.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Well, questions or comments.
Excellent demo, y'all. Looks like we've got questions from Taariq and Megan, and I saw the hand go up at the same time. So y'all decide.
You
It
go,
was literally
Taariq.
at the same time. Okay. I was wondering about what did you use again to train the model?
Are you asking about the data or the actual what type of model it was?
I guess the training like the images or the model. I'm not,
Yeah, so
I guess.
the model is ResNet 50, which from my understanding is a neural network that already has some good image capabilities. But TensorFlow and Keras are what were used to train the model. I still have to define functions and such, but importing TensorFlow and Keras allows that to happen. Let me see if I can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of an overview of it. This is the training script where I'm importing TensorFlow and Keras and setting my paths for train validation model. And a lot of this are just image data generators. This is some of the augmentation that I've done. This is the part where it builds it. It's called ResNet because it uses residual layers or residual blocks like input, hidden layers, output. And that's how it's trained. It goes through the layers and it starts looking for different features. So like different textures, different granular stuff, things like that. And then that's how it works. I'm not the best at explaining it in depth, but hopefully that answers your question a little bit, or maybe it's easier to actually visually see it.
It does. Thanks.
You had a question, Megan?
Yeah, I was gonna flip this back on you. You kind of sort of already talked about it, but like, what was maybe the most not, what was your favorite thing that you were like, ooh, that was smooth, that was slick? Because you kind of talked about the struggles and the stuff where you really had to learn, but what was like, whew, easy? That was really great.
I can go first if you want, Sumi. For me, so as far as what was very fast and like very slick, once we got like in this feature 3 setting up fast API, having the prior experience with both Django and a few other like different tech stacks, like it was really quick in setting up, and I was really happy with how things were going. As far as my favorite part as a whole in the project, I won't deny like the struggle is kind of was fun. What was it, Wednesday night when we finally got it where it was the model was working on both our computers was like a very happy point on for me. That was like the best part. It was like that big old huzzah that we were able to get it, that model on both of our systems to be able to run and be able to hit it and analyze it. That was like the kudos to it, because we did have a lot of struggles for that. We did find out that there's a lot of sites that do have some file limitations, because like as Sumi mentioned, there some of our data sets were large, but also like our model itself is like over 6 gigs. So like we had to find ways for me to get it to be able to use it to be able to analyze the images on my system, kind of thing. So that was definitely a highlight for me.
I think probably the same, actually having it work, because I've spent like so much time with the model, and then Jamie and I have spent so much time with the app and the servers and everything. So seeing it all come together Wednesday night and actually work and integrate and communicate with each other and give a result that wasn't zero, that was a great feeling.
Yeah, we were definitely both like, hey, it's moderate. That's fine. It keeps on wanting to give us moderate or mild. That's fine. That just means we need the data set needs to be fixed on, but at least it's not 0 or a random number, which is what, like I said, I mentioned we had in the beginning as just like a placeholder. It was really nice to be able to actually implement all the work that Sumi has done with the model into our actual system to be able to get that going. So
yeah, I also wanted to say it was cool helping Jamie out with the web app as well, because I also wanted to do something that wasn't just the model, and I feel like I learned a lot from him as well, like especially with I like doing the authorization and authentication. I thought that was super cool, especially with conditional access to the patient dashboard. It made me feel like I was really doing a cool like real life medical app. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this with HIPAA. And I just learned a lot as well from like the software engineering side of things. And I was happy I was able to contribute in that regard too. So that was pretty fun.
I appreciate that. And I actually did learn a lot from you as well, to me, because like I mentioned multiple times, I call it the wizard because it's all magic to me how you're able to get that training to be able to get that all code. So it's really been a learning experience for me in that regard too. It was definitely a really even trade that I feel like that we were able to work together on. I'm also glad that you had an extra cat tributor helping us out in the end there. She was all over that space bar to help to make sure that everything was tabbed correctly.
Kitties can be very particular about indentation. She probably learned Python first. So great job. Meow meow. Well, excellent questions for a really fantastic demo. Kudos. Round of applause is definitely well earned.